I'm Captain Larry Kratzer. I work with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I'm assigned to District 7, which is Fountain Hills and Rio Verde. I think it's important for drivers to understand that bicyclists have the same ability to use the roadway as vehicles do. So the state law allows them to use the roadway in the same manner as a vehicle would. They have to follow all of the same traffic laws that a vehicle would have to follow. But one of the important things is to always be attentive and to pay attention to what you're doing. So inattention is one of the biggest factors we have that is involved in most collisions, but especially bicycle accidents versus vehicles. Don't be distracted by your cell phone, your car stereo, pets in the vehicle. We see that quite a bit, and that usually can lead to an accident. And don't reach down to pick things up, but especially stay off your cell phone and be attentive to your surroundings, because a bicycle can come out of they can be coming through, and it's easy for a vehicle to miss it. So, but be courteous when you're driving and be respectful. Share the road with the bicycles. They have the right to the roadway just like the vehicle does. So those are some of the things that drivers should be paying attention to when they're driving. There are many things that bicyclists can do to help ensure that their safety while they're riding on the roadway. I think the first thing is, and the most important, is obey all the traffic laws. So as I said earlier, bicyclists are required to follow all of the same traffic laws that vehicles are when using the roadway. So that means stopping for stop signs, stopping for traffic signals, yielding right of way. By ensuring that you do all of those things, you'll help ensure that you have a safe ride. Another thing that bicyclists should do is wear bright colored or reflective clothing. That helps their visibility to other drivers, to help them be seen. As we talked about earlier, bicyclists are hard to see on the roadway at times, especially in low light conditions, so the bright colored and reflective clothing will help a lot. They should also wear safety protective equipment, helmets, long sleeves, any sort of padding that would protect them, but also use mirrors on your bike so you can see traffic coming up from behind you. Bicyclists are also required by state law to use hand signals for their intentions of turning or stopping. We don't see that very often, but that's just another method that bicyclists can help ensure their safety. One of the other things that we see oftentimes are bicyclists will have headphones in their ears, and with the technology nowadays with noise canceling headphones, it's very difficult to hear anything in your that's coming up from behind you, emergency vehicles. So be cognizant of that. If you're going to wear headphones, a lot of people like to listen to music while they ride their bike. Maybe I recommend using one headphone rather than two, or keep the volume down, or don't use noise canceling headphones so that you could hear things in your surrounding. The towns and cities have also enacted or erected many crosswalks and updated street lighting so that it's much brighter and safer for those bicycles. They've also put a lot of signage here in Fountain Hills. We have safety corridors, and those corridors were put up where there's a lot of pedestrian and bicyclist traffic. So there's added enforcement in those zones. It's a stricter enforcement, but that signage is there to let the drivers know that it's a higher populated area with bicycle and pedestrian traffic. So those are some of the things that have been enacted to help ensure bicycle safety. We also do added patrols, especially at the time of year where we have more vehicle and bicycle and pedestrian traffic. Deputies are asked to look for infractions and educate the drivers and bicyclists too, since they're required to follow those traffic laws. If they're violating the traffic law, we will take that opportunity to stop that bicyclist and educate them on the rules of the road. The consequences of hitting a bicyclist on the roadway, if you're in violation of the traffic law, you failed to yield to the bicyclist, or you ran a stop sign and struck a bicyclist, it could be receiving a civil citation. You'd be subject to possibly receiving a civil citation. Now with that, you could also be responsible for that bicyclist's injuries, medical bills, or damage to their property. So there'd be potentially civil litigation you may be subject to depending on the circumstances. Now, if you violate a criminal law and you strike a bicyclist, like reckless driving, driving while intoxicated, then you'll be charged with a criminal charge, and then you'll still have the same potential ramifications from litigation that would follow the civil suit. One of the things that we often say in law enforcement is speed and inattention kill people. So slow down, pay attention. And finally, if you're involved in a collision with a bicyclist or a pedestrian or even another vehicle, stop, render aid, and call law enforcement and fire personnel so they could assist.